Rapid reaction after Iowa gets it done in the opening round of the NCAA tournament. The women roll 92-57 over Murray State. We break it down, take a peek forward to the next round, plus some wrestling, all today. Locked on Hawkeye.
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome in. I'm Trent Condon, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. We're available wherever you find podcasts. You can also watch us on YouTube. While you're there, hit that subscribe button. Just takes a moment and helps us get in front of more Hawkeye fans. Today's episode of Locked On Hawkeyes is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from. Need one now? Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. Stock up today and stay energized. Well, an energized second half as Iowa runs away from Murray State. 92-57, the final in this one. A dominating performance as Iowa gets it done. 5 different players in double figures. Every single player that played got into the score column. 2 players off the bench in double figures. A little bit of everything in this one and a lot of good to take away in this win against Murray State. Murray State came in one of the top 3-point shooting teams in the country. They shoot it with volume and they shoot it with propensity. However, that was not the case in this one as Iowa was able to run them off the 3-point line. Haley Polk, saw a lot of her at high school in Waterloo West High School. Really good player. And you saw how Iowa was able to disrupt her, running her off the 3-point line. And then we saw early in the second half when Caitlin Young, the best player for Murray State, went down, that this thing was going to turn into a laugher. And that's exactly what happened. Losing a player of that capability was just something that Murray State wasn't going to be able to overcome. This was all about Iowa, and this was about a lot of different things. As we've talked about, a little bit of a slow start. That's to be expected. You've been off for a couple weeks. Remember, it's the inverse of what we see at the conference tournament time on the men's side, where the Missouri Valley Conference on the men's side, they go first, then it goes into the big schools. It flip-flops here on the women's side. So the Missouri Valley Conference, that finished up last weekend when Murray State earned the conference's automatic bid, winning Arch Madness. Well, it's not Arch Madness for the women's side because they played in Evansville this year after playing the Quad Cities the last few seasons. That aside, Iowa came out a little bit flat, a little bit slow, but again, you've been off for a couple of weeks. That's going to happen. But you saw this Iowa team and what they are, raced out to the lead. What they did at the end then of the second quarter, I thought that was really eye-opening. That's a 4-point game, I think it was, and a little bit of inside, outside, good shooting overall. Really the story of the first half, though, was the play of Ava Heiden. And Heiden gets to career high points in the first half of the game. You see the skill set that she has, and you can understand why Ava Heiden was one of the more highly regarded players that Iowa's ever got in the recruiting world, because you see the skill set that she has. At 6'4", her ability to move. She is a player that has a very much a fluidity to her game. I saw that in a couple of different plays, including that step through that she was able to do, going up with the left hand, just the acceleration. And Jan Jensen, her tutelage. And we go through in the past as her as an assistant coach and think of the development of the post positions and the growth that we see out of so many of these players year after year. And sometimes you see them as freshmen and they look so completely different by the time they're upperclassmen and certainly in their senior year. We already have this skill set with Ava Heiden. And it's exciting to think of what still can grow out of this, what still very well could be coming from what she's going to be going forward. And I was going to have a decision, not just for next season as we'll look ahead, but for this year. Likely it's going to be Oklahoma. Florida Gulf Coast has won a couple of games in the tournament recently. It's a good team. And it's not to say upsets don't happen at the same level in the women's tournament that we see in the men. And you anticipate that Oklahoma is going to be fine, but regardless, Iowa, what they have a decision against Oklahoma if they advance to a Sweet 16 and likely face UConn, who jumped out 66-16, by the way, at halftime over Arkansas State. 66-16. All right. But again, that's also the divide that you see in women's college basketball. Back to the topic at hand. and the inside-outside, what you do, because Ava Heiden's playing at a level right now where you can't keep her on the bench. She played 17 minutes in a blowout. If she keeps playing like this, she's got to be commanding 20, 22, 24 minutes a game. That's where you're going. But you also need to have Hannah Stulke out there. And you want her for athleticism, her ability to run the floor. Though she was in foul trouble, and that led to Ava going into the game earlier, you saw them toying around with that a little bit more in the second half. And I think Jan Jensen and this staff knows that if there is going to be a deep run, if there's going to be a win against Oklahoma, if they're going to have a shot against a UConn in a Sweet 16, that there's going to be moments where you're going to have to play both of those players together. And going into next season, absolutely, that's going to have to be the case. Taylor McCabe doing her thing, couple of three-pointers out of her. Feuerbach, couple of outstanding defensive sequences again. We've talked about this a ton, but to see Kylie Feuerbach, just what we're seeing from her on the defensive end today compared to even the beginning of the season, the growth that she has made. Now, I really believe it goes to that game against USC and what she was able to do bottling up for long stretches, Juju Watkins. She's always been a good defender. She's always been a good athlete. But it just felt like at that moment, it went from, yeah, she's good, to now she's at an elite level. And you saw that a couple of different times. Cynthia Falter, her ability to get to the rim and understand angles too when she gets there. Another good performance out of her. Lucy Olsen, 12 points, 12 assists, couple of rebounds, couple of steals. She was all over the place. Also herself battled foul trouble. And that was kind of a story until that surge at the end of the first half. That's a 4-point game, 34-30, I want to say it was, before the 8-0 spurt to end things. And the fouls were building. Stulke was in foul trouble, and Olsen was in foul trouble, and Falter had a couple. And you're just kind of left wondering, is this going to be one of those weird games? Not the case. And then you go to the bench, and we mentioned Ava Heiden. But Taylor Stremlow, able to do what she was able to do. You see the growth out of her. O'Grady came in, now the third post, but maybe there's going to be more of an avenue for her to play. And then some of the other players, Edinger getting in there and getting a couple of buckets, seeing Jada Jimphy get a score. How about Callie Levine and her first ever college bucket that she gets on the reverse layup? Had a couple assists running the point for them. Just the depth of this squad. They're not going away. Iowa women's basketball is here to stay. And you saw that once again in display in a win against a good Murray State team. So let's take a peek forward. And let's say it is Oklahoma. So a couple of numbers for you for Oklahoma. I think the first one that we need to know for Monday, if it is the Sooners, obviously that'll be playing on their home floor, is the pace that they play at. This is one of the fastest teams in the country. In fact, by tempo, the fastest team in the country. 77.8 possessions per game. That's the tempo that they play at. Iowa doesn't play at that tempo. 155. So this is a game, and along with the two posts that we talked about playing together with Stulke and Heiden, who is going to dictate pace is going to be a big part of it. We'll talk more about the matchup when it comes to fruition on Monday's podcast. A couple other numbers for you for Oklahoma to maybe chew on before we get there. Not a great three-point shooting team. 32.3% on the year. That's 127th on the country. So they don't shoot it great from the outside, even playing at the fast pace. They want to get downhill. They want to get to the rim. That's how they play. And finally, on the other side, they give up a lot of three-pointers. So dictate pace, knock down your three-pointers. Iowa's got a chance to pull the upset and move on to the Sweet 16. Will it be them for sure? Well, we will find out, and we will be with you on the Monday podcast previewing whoever that matchup is in the round of 32. We continue here, Locked On Hawkeyes, taking a peek at the wrestling team. How about that wrestling team? Yes, it's not going to end in a national championship, and there's plenty of disappointment in the team title race, even in a tournament for Penn State standards, that they didn't wrestle to their heights well behind. Nebraska looks to have things solidified at second, but Iowa with 3 finalists tonight. It's a good thing and something to build on. We'll talk about that as we continue. Little wrestling talk, plus the latest on Ben McCollum, the Drake coach and soon-to-be Iowa coach. More to come here on that. This is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. We're all about the stats because numbers don't lie. And when it comes to the all-new Nissan Armada Pro-4X, the numbers are on an MVP level. With the ability to tow up to 8,500 pounds, it can quite literally carry the whole team, plus the gear, wherever you need to go. It's powered by a twin-turbo V6 engine, delivering the strength and performance to handle highways, back roads, and everything in between. And with room up to 8 people, the Armada Pro-4X is built for big crews, big adventures, and even bigger memories. Whether you're exploring off-road trails or rolling up to the arena, the Armada Pro-4X brings power, versatility, and style wherever you go. Take your adventures to new heights in the all-new Nissan Armada Pro-4X. Learn more at nissanusa.com. That's nissanusa.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by 5-Hour Energy. Daylight savings snuck up on us again, and if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5-Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament, squeezing in a round of golf after work, or just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5-Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. I've been staying up late watching the hoops, watching the wrestling. 5-Hour Energy helps me keep up the whole next day. With longer days, I love getting outside, play a little golf, swing, run around with the kids outside. My favorite, tropical bursts that go to for a quick boost. And whether you're traveling or at a game, 5-Hour Energy is easy to grab and keeps you feeling refreshed on the go at your convenience. Head to 5hourenergy.com. 5hourenergy.com and find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Need one now? Grab a 5-Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. 5-Hour Energy and 5hourenergy.com. Trent Condon back with you once again on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for being with us and making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. So as we take a look here at the March Madness that is happening, let's go over to the wrestling mat for a little bit as we sit here just wrapping up the consolation round has completed here just a little bit ago, and had that on down here in the man cave as we sit and get ready for tonight's finals. Now, there's going to be some maneuvering that's going to be happening, but it will conclude at heavyweight as it'll be Stevenson, Gable Stevenson for Minnesota going for another national championship. And that one going to kick off, though, a little bit different. They're going to go to 84 as it will be at 184 pounds, of course, Strachey. And what we've seen from him, just absolutely ridiculous, going for his 5th national championship. But he'll be facing the national champ from a year ago at 184 and Parker Keckeisen. And Keckeisen undefeated in regular matches. They wrestled in a all-star match earlier this year, went to overtime, and Strachey was able to get the win there. McAnally from Minnesota, boy, he was really good in that semifinal match. But that aside, so that's where things are going to start. Then we'll get into back to normal kind of setup, the way that they're going to have that going back to 125 pounds. So it'll be Drake Ayala pretty early. He'll be the 3rd match of the evening. And he'll get a rematch. And what he wanted against Bird, who stuck him in the Big Ten finals. I like Drake's chances. I really do, to getting this done. You go a little bit deeper. Mikey Caliendo at 165. Yes, 165, you know it's waiting on the other side. But for him to punch his ticket again, to get there, to get another finalist, Messenbrink is an absolute stud. And pulling off an upset here would be historic for Caliendo, but he's going to give it a shot. And then finally, we'll get to see Stephen Buchanan. And beating AJ Ferrari in that semifinal match was great. He'll get a Penn State wrestler on top of it, as he'll be wrestling Barr. Barr comes in as the number 4 seed. He'll get his opportunity. And for Buchanan, bouncing around, starting his career at Wyoming, an All-American there, then an All-American at Oklahoma, and then obviously an All-American as he's at worst 2nd place as he wrestles in the finals tonight, and trying to culminate a career with the championship. So you look at Iowa and you look at the scores. Penn State with 3 finalists, 169 points. They have locked up another team title. Nebraska in second at 109. Iowa sits at 77 points. And I don't. Not what we wanted, right? Wanted more out of this wrestling team and thought there could have been a path. At worst, to finish in second place. Winning a national championship was not likely. As I said, Penn State didn't wrestle fully to their capabilities this weekend. And they're still going to run away with another title. That's just how different it was. But I know a lot of the conversation was at 149 and 157 for Iowa. And Kyle Parko, who gets beat in the second round, gets majored in that one by the Oregon State wrestler, and then gets beat on the backside medical forfeit. Just wasn't there health-wise. And the same thing for Ja'Cory Teemer. Now, if you take both of those guys, and they wrestle to their full capabilities, which both of those guys have shown in the past an ability that they can wrestle for a championship, that they can be there. Let's give them 20 team points for both of those guys. That's with some bonus points as well. I mean, even with that, even you give them 20 more points each, you're still talking about sitting at 117. You're in second. And even with that, you're still 50-some points behind Penn State. That's the gap. And that's what it was. Let's celebrate, though, having 3 guys in the finals. There were moments you wondered, was this even going to happen? Now, I think Ayala was the guy I think most of us, myself included, was the most confident was going to get there. But Caliendo's going to get another shot. Buchanan, he's going to be right there. A lot of people thought it was going to be Ferrari, and that was not the case. Buchanan got the win, 3-0. So we'll get 3 guys in the finals tonight and continue to build. And knowing that Penn State's losing guys, there can be a path. Iowa's been there. They can do it. And hope that the brands are still the right guys. Maybe this is the ammunition to say, yes, they can still push the right buttons. They can still have their guys peaking at the end of the year. Parko, Teemer, got hurt, had injuries. Happens. It's wrestling. But I don't think you can read it as an indictment on the program and what they're trying to accomplish. At least I don't. I know there's bigger wrestling fans out there than me. And there's people that have that sentiment. That it's time for a change. It's time to go another direction. I can't get there yet. You have to sell me on who else. 5 Hawkeyes, All-Americans, not what we want. Want it to be more. Ben Keeter finishing up in 8th place, an All-American finish for him. There was a note that everybody that he lost to this season was a senior. Now, that doesn't mean a senior by eligibility, because we know with redshirt years and Olympic years and COVID years and everything else that there might be some guys back. How about Patrick Kennedy, wrestling way above his seed, finishing in 4th place at 174. That was absolutely great to see. There are good stories that came out of wrestling. We weren't sure. We'll tell the story here at the finals. I'm looking forward to that on Saturday evening. Wrapping things up. And one final note on the basketball front of things as we will talk about Ben McCollum. His Drake Bulldogs will be facing off this evening against Texas Tech. Are we Bulldog fans tonight? Or do you want Drake to take an L? Next on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Trent kind of back with you one final time on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for being with us and making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. So as we wrap things up here today, we're back to the NCAA tournament. A great start for the Big Ten. The Big Ten 8-0 in the first round of the tournament. Purdue getting things started in the round of 32, and they are dominating against McNeese State and looking to punch their ticket into the Sweet 16. Watching this Purdue team the last 3 weeks, thought no way. And here they are. Shows you maybe the strength that Fran McCaffrey's squad went through this year. So, speaking of that squad, they're kind of empty. They're really empty. last one out of the locker room, turn off the lights kind of situation is, well, the portal, this is the new reality. Look, we haven't gone through this as Iowa fans. Obviously, the football program, in 26 years of Kirk Ferentz, we haven't had to deal with anything like this. And the last time we went through a coaching change with Fran McCaffrey 15 years ago, I mean, you talk about a different world. That was a completely different world. And at the time, they had commitments from Ben Brust and Cody Larson, Roy Devin Marble, and there was one more in that class. But only got Roy Devin to stay. Cody Larson went to Florida, ended up back at South Dakota State. He was a South Dakota kid. And Ben Brust, of course, was a punk at Wisconsin during the course of his career. But as we look at this new reality, this is just the way it goes. There might be guys that come back. We'll see. But the question is Ben McCollum. He is the prohibitive favorite to get this job. I did have an interesting conversation earlier in the week with somebody that grew up around Coach McCollum. And we've heard the dream job thing. I'm sorry, it just drives me nuts. I've never heard any of these guys actually specifically say that. You can speculate, but that aside. When it comes to Ben McCollum, grew up a Hawkeye fan, not just a Hawkeye fan, pretty diehard was the way that it was relayed to me, Hawkeye fan. Now, does that matter in today's environment? Does that matter if West Virginia is just throwing out a ton more money? Probably not. But being the Iowa Hawkeye coach, I think would mean something to Ben McCollum. The offer is going to be there. Do we want Drake to win this one? Get to the Sweet 16? I don't think so. I think you want to have this tied up as quickly as possible. Not only because the portal is going to be opening and you want to get to work on that front, but you don't want a Sweet 16 run out of Drake and all of a sudden programs that have a lot deeper pockets, Texas, you don't want them to come calling. You just want to make this as simple as possible. Make this happen. Now, there's people out there that will make you believe that this is a done deal. And I don't want to say I'm one of them. I will be surprised if it doesn't happen. And I believe the only way it's not going to happen, that Ben McCollum is not the next Iowa basketball coach, is the same thing that happened with Darren DeVries happens here. It's just a financial situation that he can't say no to. But keep building up those funds. If you have the ability, donate to the Swarm Collective. And make sure that you say, I want this to go to men's basketball. Because it's an arms race. That's what it comes down to, is money. And is Iowa going to have the money, not to hire Ben McCollum, the money's there, to build up the war chest, to be able to compete, to bring in players, to be able to compete, to bring in a Bennett Sturtz, a guy that looks like an All-American right now, a guy that a lot of people believe is targeted to go to Kansas State. He's got family connections there. He's from the area. A lot of K-State people in his background. And I was told weeks ago, before even knew that this was a real possibility, that it was a lock that Sturtz was going to end up at K-State. Well, now we'll see. But to get a guy like that, are you going to be able to outspend? Remember, K-State gave $2 million to Coleman Hawkins. They got some money that they're investing in basketball. I'm not asking you to invest. Now, if you have $2 million, go right ahead. A little something for your boy. Let's go take a trip. Go to Vegas or something. But that aside, that's where we are. Again, I'll be surprised if it's not McCollum. We'll see what happens tonight. You can watch this team if you missed their game in the opening round and the victory against Missouri. This Texas Tech team, I believe, is a big step up in competition. I thought that Missouri team was a bit of a fraud. I didn't think that they were built, regardless of who their opponent was going to be, to make a deep run. And obviously that was the case. One of the few things I've got right. But watch this Drake team. Watch the way they play. Watch, at times, the lack of athleticism, physicality, and yet how the way they play defense, the way they rebound, the way they're just connected. And it's also going to be interesting because Ben McCollum, one of his closest friends in the coaching business, is on the other side in Grant McCaslin of Texas Tech, who is an outstanding coach in his own right. That's what's happening this evening. And then if it does happen, if Drake loses tonight, I think it'll come together quickly. I really do. Well, with that, I got a little cold. I don't think it's cold. I think I just got something in my throat. We're going to cut it off for today. Iowa gets the win, round of 32. We'll dive deeper into the matchup against either Oklahoma or Florida Gulf Coast. Who comes out the winner in that one on the women's side? Head coaching duties, we will keep an eye on that. And if anything breaks over the weekend, I will be right with you as well. That's why it's important. Hit subscribe if you're watching right now on YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast side, make sure you subscribe. Also, 5-star reviews. Really need more of those on the podcast side, helping us get in front of our Hawkeye fans and getting you our shows each and every day. That's what we do for you. Your team every day on the Locked On Network. We got you covered on the Hawkeye front. Don't forget Locked On College Basketball with March here. You want to be locked in with Locked On College Basketball. Isaac Shoddy and Andy Patton doing wonderful work. Be the most informed college basketball fan all throughout the madness. Find Locked On College Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll be back with you on Monday with a new edition of the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. We'll have wrestling with the 3 finalists going, the matchup for the Iowa women, and the latest on the coaching search. Plus, spring football's right around the corner. Oh, don't want to forget about that. All with you here on the Locked On Network. Thanks for being with us today. We'll talk to you then. Until our next show, go Hawks.